Hi, listeners. Welcome to Page to Picture. I am your host, Kim.
And I'm your host, Tiff. And earlier this week during our Paper Towns episode, we featured our Art Corner author.
Yes, and she just sold her first short story at just 16 years old to True Love magazine. Over the years since, she's explored many genres, media, and styles before coming back home to romance with her debut novel, Lust for Tomorrow. In her daily life, Dana works as a writer in the video game industry, which we are heavily obsessed. So she really does it all.
Yes, and these books are raw, real, and so beautifully written that reading them feels like therapy, punishment, and catharsis all in one. Whether you're here for the trauma healing, the messy characters, or the emotional, devastating consent series or scenes, you're in the right place. So please join us in welcoming Dana Sweeney.
Hi. Say hi to her, Elizabeth. How are you?
Hello.
Oh, doing so well. That was so lovely to hear. Thank you.
No, these these two books, I don't even know how to explain it. It like took over my life. I'm just like amazed by your books, and I can't wait for us to like dive in and talk about it. But before we dive into all the emotional wreckage your books caused us, in the best way possible, we want to rewind a bit and learn more about you. So every author has an origin story, and yours started very early.
Yeah, you sold your first short story at just 16 to True Love magazine. Do you remember like what that moment felt like? Like, do you remember what you were thinking, or like how was that?
Yeah, how did that all play out?
I had written this story that I didn't know what kind of story it was because it was very sad. It was not a romance by our standards because there was not a happy ending. And I started sending it to like literary magazines and stuff and just tons of rejections. And then I found out I bought like a book of places to send your stories and get paid for them. And I realized that this was actually a love story. So maybe a love venue would be interested. When I got you're going to get paid $175, which is still a lot for a story, even today.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
Oh my God.
Yeah, back then it was huge. And then my English teacher, who had not been my biggest fan when we first met, asked me to read the story out loud to the class one day, and that was really cool too.
That is so cool.
I love it. Like, you can get a million no's, but it only takes one yes, right? That's like a perfect example. So what drew you to storytelling in the first place? Was it always romance, or did that come later?
That came later, and I got through my childhood without ever being diagnosed with ADHD, like many women do, because our symptoms are very, very different. And one thing that looking back is just very clear is if I wasn't interested in something, I just didn't do it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would just do something adjacent to it, but I always did it well enough and it was interesting enough that I got good grades. And so one of my core memories is I got assigned a paper about barometers and I was like, fuck this. And I wrote a story about a rusty barometer and that it fell in love with a shiny new barometer. And when its heart broke, mercury spewed everywhere.
Oh my God.
Oh my God, that's so creative.
I know. I actually love that.
I should have done my assignments like that.
I know. We should have been like, fuck it. We're going to just do it how we want to do it.
Yeah, literally. Because you still got the point across. That's crazy.
And the teachers were like, well, that was more interesting than the other stories, so you win.
I'm sure the teacher was like, I like this better.
Yeah, they're like, this is actually really creative.
Yep. They're like, moving on. I love it. So now you write for the video game industry, which I would love to say is so cool because like I'm a nerd. I'm a huge gamer. I love to play.
Oh, we are gaming home.
Yeah, I play so much. Kim plays a lot. Her husband plays a lot. So how does that compare to writing novels? Do you do the two ever feed each other creatively? Like, does it bleed in sometimes and like help you, or vice versa? Or how is that?
Well, in video games, I don't get as much say, obviously, in what's going to happen. Like the designers are creating here's what the character looks like, and
Mhm.
here's the character archetype, and the story will take place in these locations and needs to cover these things. And so it's like finding the way to make all of this work and be interesting and explore a story, but I don't get to come up with all of the stuff. And
Right.
so it's kind of easier, like the
Yeah.
half the work is done for you.
Yeah. You're like,
That's
when
so
I'm writing,
true.
yeah,
You have
you're
like
like
the whole outline out and you're like, this is great. I didn't do any of this. Let me just piece it together. That sounds amazing.
Okay, so your books feel incredibly personal and emotionally layered. So do you draw from your own experience or people in your life when crafting these kind of stories?
Yeah, every character I say has a piece of my soul,
Oh,
and they're all doing things that make sense to me, that uh although they're different, each of them is me in a way
yeah, yeah,
too.
yeah.
And
Um,
everything that I have experienced, and you know, I'm in my 40s at this point. I've experienced a fair amount, and yeah, I draw on all of that.
I love that because I feel like that's what makes it a story so good is that you as a reader can feel that there's a connection from the author, like reading both your stories. And even though there are like so many different characters, you can just tell that there's so much, I guess, of you in all of these characters in this story. So that actually, like, that makes me very happy to
Yeah.
hear.
Okay. So now let's talk about your newest release, Trust in Tomorrow. This book feels like such an emotional roller coaster, one that hits hard and it stays with you. It
Yes.
seems like there's so much depth in this story, and we'd love to just dive more into how it became.
Yes. How did this story come together? Because obviously you have your first book, Lust in Tomorrow, which oh, the lust was there. Let me tell you, I was okay with. I was like, this is amazing. So then how did Trust in Tomorrow like come to be?
While I was writing Lust for Tomorrow, it's a limited perspective, it's first person, and
Hmm.
you only know what Nina knows. But every once in a while, I would have to write something that was happening somewhere else so that I would know what was happening over there because it mattered to the overall story. And
Right.
the scene when Dimitri goes and fucks with Tom
Yeah.
was just my favorite thing. And I was always going to share it in some way, like maybe as
Yeah.
an extra on the website or something. But then I noticed that they had an eavesdropper, and that turned into, well, who is this person and how will this play out? And it all just came out of writing that scene for myself
Oh my
and being entertained by
god.
it.
That is crazy. And then
I love it.
that scene turned into like almost like 400-page like novel. Like that is crazy. I love it so much because I loved this book. I love the series and I love this book so much. So Trust is Tomorrow follows two incredibly complex characters, right? You have Dimitri and you have Stella. What was your process for creating them? Because I know Dimitri is in the first book. Did they come to you fully formed? Like you knew, like going to your second story, like this is how they are, or did you uncover their layers as you wrote?
Everything comes out as it's happening, and I really had no idea, and it's all there. And
Mm-hmm.
yet I had no idea. In the first book, Nina refers to Dimitri in these ways, and I didn't understand what was going on in his head. I just knew that was how people perceived him. I had
Right.
no idea until I started writing his POV that this guy has ADHD, and that explains why he's quiet. He's focusing extra hard because it's harder for him to focus.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I
Oh
just
my
didn't
god.
know it until I started paying attention from his point of view. And I also didn't know what a good person he was. And it kind of blew my mind because I realized that I always had it that he had noticed that he was being spied on in that opening scene.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't know it bothered him until I started writing him, and the way that it was tearing him up to have a lie from his friend, and
Yeah.
he's just a better person than I am.
Oh my
'cause
God, like
it would never
we
occur to
have
me.
to like
Yeah.
protect Dimitri at all
Yeah,
costs.
just
Like he's
protect him
so
from everything.
good. I loved him. I loved him in the first book, and I love him even more. That's why I was like so excited to read this. I was like, I'm so happy because I loved him in the first book, even though it's like Tom and Nina. But I was like, I love this man, this side character. I'm obsessed with side characters, and I
She
love when
loves the side characters.
and I love when an author like does a whole story based off like a side character because it's like, okay, we're all feeling the same thing. Like I love it so much.
She really does love a side character. She says it all the time. So the book touches on heavy themes, including PTSD, imposter syndrome, and societal issues. What was it like balancing these heavy elements with the romance that readers expect in the genre?
Romance is what makes it possible to write the other stuff. I
Oh,
think that
yeah.
it would be a big, dull, depressing, like,
Yeah.
You're just like, God.
Just trauma dump of a book.
yeah.
No, it really is. I mean, the romance is there definitely, but then I love that there's these extra layers and there's like serious topics with each character. So overall, like as a whole, it works so well. So I really enjoyed that of your story. So Trust in Tomorrow feels it's like a continuation of themes that you explored in Lust for Tomorrow, but it's also very much its own story. So what did you want to achieve in the sequel, and how did you feel it needed to evolve from the first book? So it's like not a continue. I mean, it's its own. You know what I mean? It's Dimitri's story. So what was your goal for this sequel for doing the second book?
I wanted to spend more time with the world of the stronghold and how it formed and why it is the way it is.
Mhm.
I I mean, I really bit off a lot, but you sort of have to just go big or or not bother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wanted to try to move us in a hopeful direction, and that was important to me.
I love it.
So what was your favorite scene to write, and what was the hardest scene to write?
In which book?
Let's go for both because I'm actually curious
Yeah,
for both.
I
Lust
was
and
gonna
for
say.
Trust.
The hardest scene, I would say, in Lust for Tomorrow is its crash. The I rewrote that chapter a lot early on because I was having trouble finding the right balance of he's angry, but he's not,
Mhm.
actively cruel. And it's hard to interpret that from the receiving end when you're getting to know somebody.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that was probably the biggest challenge in that book. And my favorite scene to write in that book was the first thing that I wrote, really, which has basically never changed from the initial just I need to write this down now, which was chapter 3, the first sex scene.
Yeah, because that was like, I was like, oh, we're getting into it. She showed up and she was like, this is what I want. I was like, what? The book is called Lesson Tomorrow. And when I when I got to that chapter, I was like, what? I was like, hold on.
She
My
said,
whole-
wait a minute, I wasn't prepared.
I was like, I really wasn't that prepared. So let me like readjust my mood and like let me read this book. Like that is crazy. What about for Trust in Tomorrow?
I think the hardest scene, and this is just sort of silly actually, but there's a bit toward the end where uh, Dimitri wakes up after having been unconscious, and
Mm-hmm.
I was really struggling to write the scene because it just was so on my mind that he hasn't gone to the bathroom in so long. Like this would be a pressing issue, and I was trying to just ignore it because this is an idealized world in a way. Romance, people don't
Mm-hmm.
always have to go pee after sex or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't move past it, and it took me hours of like sitting there struggling to write the scene before I was like, all right, I just have to let him pee right here on the page. It has to happen,
He
and
has
then
to
the
go to
scene
the
works.
bathroom.
She's like, this is like, I know it's fantasy, but like, this is like real life. Okay, people, like, wouldn't you all wonder the same thing if you're watching or reading it? Like,
Yes,
come on.
And then
literally.
my favorite scene is probably when the first scene in the kitchen with Judah when he kind of lays his cards out, and
Oh
so I had
yeah.
no idea who he was. I didn't expect any of that. And then he just opened his mouth and started talking. I was like, ooh.
You're like,
You're like,
I
wow, this
love.
is amazing.
She's like, I
You're
love
writing
this.
it out. You're like, this is so good.
It's like, I'm doing some good stuff right here, you guys.
Yeah. I love that.
Me too. That makes me
I
so
have
happy.
a side question, because when you write, so you know when like you mentioned about writing a chapter and having to rewrite it, do you save the chapters that you don't put in the book, and then what do you do with those? Do you just have them there like to go back to if you need like reference for anything else, or what do you do with those?
Every time I open a file, resave it as 1.1 or 1.2, because like chapter 1, version 2, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Then, Lust for Tomorrow originally wrote a version that tried to tell an entire story, but it just wasn't working at all. There's like, it cuts off where it does for a reason, because in a romance, once the characters are living happily ever after, the story needs to change focus, and
Yes.
you can't just stay with the people who are living happily ever after.
Right.
There needs to be ongoing conflict, and I didn't want to like manufacture conflict. It's just not me. And so I had to cut it and then restage over here with Stella and Dimitri. But I had written various scenes of like people discussing important things, and so some of those moments do happen in Trust in Tomorrow, like Maxwell's speeches at various points
Yes.
have come from the original draft of Lust for Tomorrow.
Oh, so she's like, I
okay.
keep it, and then if I need to use it later,
I'll just put it in.
Yeah, just like add it in
I love
there,
that.
sprinkle it in. So we want to dive into some fan questions, thanks to our followers such as Emma's book page, Ellie and Essays, and Any Spiritual. So they've all, and a couple of other people have asked some questions. So we're going to go ahead and ask you these questions, and hopefully we get some answers. Tiff, go ahead and go first.
Okay, so the first one is, what's a spicy scene? Like the example is like crawling, I guess. That's what it says. What's a spicy scene you haven't written yet but want to?
I mean, God, girl, this scenes were spicy. So I mean,
Yeah.
like, what do you mean?
Like, what haven't you written?
I was like, whoa.
I have to admit that I don't know what they're going to do until they do it, because it's kind of like what turns them on.
Yeah, it's more
And-
like the characters and not you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually feedback that I got on, and I mentioned this on my blog post the other day, that I got like beta reader feedback. Are you afraid that people are going to be disappointed that there's less kink? There's
Yeah.
and
Right.
I was like, well, I really can't care about that, because
Yeah.
these characters are not the same characters. That I'm not just going to make them be kinky.
Yeah. No, they're totally different. They're different characters. You want kink, go back and read the first book and read all those chapters all over
Yeah.
again, because those have enough kink to like carry you on to the second book. Okay.
Yeah. And that makes a lot of sense too, because sometimes I'll read a book and like there's like a character that's like kind of like reserved or whatever. And then like when it comes to their spicy scenes, they're like all out and about and like crazy. And I'm like, this is not
Like, where did
how
this
I
come
imagined
from?
this girl to be, but okay, I guess. Yeah, so that makes sense.
Who has been the hardest character to write? I guess in both your books in the entire series.
Oh, the hardest character to write is Monica, and that's because I am writing her perspective now, and she is so much
makes me
more
so
depressing to me
I
than the other.
know. She is. I'm really excited to read her story, though. I will tell you that. I'm actually really excited to read her story.
Okay, what trope will you never write?
I'll never write the word daddy in any context ever.
Fair. That is really fair.
I love that so much. She's like, we will have the kinkiest stuff, but you will not call these people daddy.
Yeah, you will never ever hear me say that.
We will call them Alpha, and we will call them the names that they are nicknamed throughout the story.
And that's it.
Would you ever write a novella about Tom and Nina in the future?
That could be really fun. Like after everything is settled and they are living in the world that they're going to be living in, like it could be fun to revisit them and just check in, I guess. I would have to I would have to give that some thought. And I love Tom so much, so I would never ever
Yeah.
turn away from spending more time with him.
I love Tom too. I love
love it.
Tom. I do. Sorry. I love
She
Tom.
goes, I'll take more Tom. So if you write that novella, I wouldn't be mad.
No, I will happily read that novella.
Yes.
He's the reason all of this exists. I
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
love
Oh,
him.
I love him. Me too.
We love Tom. So for book 2, did you know who would be the feature from the beginning, or did it ever change?
I definitely knew that it was Dimitri, and it spun out of that scene that I had written, and
Right.
I just didn't know who they were until I dug into them. And Stella, naming her was the hardest of the names at first. And then there's a song that is from Graffiti Bridge by Prince, and it's the song that Morris Day has. Oh, Stella, I know you came alone.
Yeah.
And ain't qualified to take you home.
So you
Oh my
heard
God, I
it and
love
you're
it.
like, this is the character's name?
You're like, this is Stella.
Yeah.
Oh,
I love that so much.
me too. If you could hug one of your characters, who would it be?
Davy. Davy is so
Aw.
endearing to me and just like a sweetheart.
Oh, I love that. I would be like, give me Alpha Tom and give me Dimitri. I will gladly hug all. I will happily hug these men. Hi.
She said, I will not shy away. My arms are open for you. Come on,
I'm
let's
like,
go.
You can blindfold me if you like. We can hug. It's okay.
He said, I won't say a thing.
I will do whatever you ask me to do. It's fine.
Oh my gosh. Okay, finally, kiss, marry, kill, Tom, Dimitri, or Judah. And Judah. Yeah.
I know. This was so hard for me. When I saw this question, I was like, that is so hard.
That's man, that's cruel, actually. Well, I mean, obviously, I have to marry Tom.
Right.
That one's obvious.
Yeah.
And I could never, ever kill Dimitri. So I will kiss Dimitri. That means I have to kill Judah, and that upsets me.
She's
but
like,
also
who
it's probably for the best.
She's like, who asked this question?
Who asked this
Which
question?
one of my readers asked this question? I have words.
We have to ask other people, other readers, your readers too. Who would they? Because that is so hard. I sat there and I was
It's a hard
like,
one.
I would want to marry, and I was like, do I want to marry Tom or I think I was along with you. Like, I'll probably kill off Judah.
Yeah.
So I was like left with like, do I want to kiss or marry Tom or Dimitri? I was like, I don't know, but I was like,
Dimitri, and I'll kill Judah. It's fine.
yeah. I was like, so I'm really curious what everyone else thinks too. Whoever asked that question, we're gonna ask you. What
We're
would
asking
do?
you now. We need to know your answer because I've thought about it, obviously.
I do
That's
have
so
a
funny.
dark romance writer who is a friend of mine, and she would definitely marry Judah.
Yeah.
Who would she kill? Dimitri?
Probably.
Oh no. Well, to each their own. Okay, so getting into some personal reflection here. What has been the most rewarding part about being an author?
The friends that I have made, I have just, I message writers and I receive messages that are the same now. Like, I am a friend of other writers and of readers because we've messaged each other about my books or their books. And that's amazing that you bond over art, especially when it's art that you created. It's very soul fulfilling to have people care that much. And then you start talking, and like, actually my best friend is somebody who initially I saw her post about my book and really appreciated her review, and we started chatting.
I love that.
I love that so much.
It really is the community, the people you meet, and like the bonds that you make over something it's not simple, but something as simple as writing or reading, even just reading alone. I love it because you meet a lot of amazing people, and then your perspective grows, and you're like,
Yeah.
I love it.
I love it so much.
How I became friends with Nenya Campbell is I was reading one of her books, Little Deaths, and I messaged her like, I am so sorry to ask. Could you just spoil for me? Is the dog going to be okay?
Oh my God.
You're like, I need to know.
I've literally done
Please.
that. I've literally done that with other authors that we've like have read their books, and we haven't even done an interview with them, but like I'll read their book, and I'm just gonna be like, I am so sorry, I'm not trying to be like a weirdo, but I have like so many questions about this book.
She's
I was
like, do you have time for a call? Maybe this is
can
a
we please
lot.
talk about it? I need to talk to somebody about it. And it's really awesome when authors take the time to like respond, right? To talk
Yeah.
back to your readers. It feels like more of a connection. And then as readers, you feel like, oh my God, like they actually care about like what I'm asking and like about my opinion. And then it's cool also, like Tiff said, being in the community, especially when you're like talk to people who've also read your book, and you guys, like us as readers, could just like vibe off each other, and we all have our own opinions, but then we also like hype over certain scenes together. So I think it's like really amazing. Hi, Kat.
Oh my God. Hello.
Cameo.
Look at your face.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. I love it.
Love your cat. My cat's like over there running around causing chaos.
Causing chaos.
Seriously.
Chaos is the name of this cat.
Oh my
Aw.
God. Oh my God. I love your cats. Okay, so what is the message you hope readers can take away from your books?
Tom has a speech in book 2 that I think is one of my favorite things that I've written, and it's when he tells Stella, this is not an overnight process, and we have to focus on one thing at a time, and prioritize and make our wins, and not lose hope. And I think that's important for people to keep in mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was such a good scene.
Yeah, it was. So what is next for you? What do you have in the works? What's coming up?
I know you kind of mentioned you got Monica, like
You're writing a
how
bit
far
about her.
along are we until her story?
That one it's slowly, it's coalescing. I'm still in the early stages where I'm writing scenes from various characters' points of view, and I have no idea how much of it will actually be in the book and how much is
Oh my
just stuff that I will
gosh.
know that feeds into what winds up in the book. And until basically, uh, until I get to within about a month of release, I won't even know for sure that I'm done. And
Oh
that's just
wow.
the way my brain works. Like, oh, you want me to work to a deadline? Well, then you have to give me a deadline, because if I'm setting my own, it's not going to happen.
Right. No, that makes sense. Do you have an idea of a title?
Well, I sort of roped myself in with this format, didn't I? So
Yes. Yeah, that's I was like, what could possibly be your title?
I don't think it's going to rhyme quite as well, because there's not much left. Like, what, dust off tomorrow? No.
Dust off for tomorrow.
It's just a little. It's fine.
No, she's more intense in a way, and so I think I think it might be fight.
Oh, I still love that. I still love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we wrap up, we have some rapid questions we want to ask you. Nothing serious, some this or that. So the first question is, if Trust in Tomorrow was being adapted into a movie or show, who would you cast as Dimitri and Stella?
I have thought about this one.
I love that.
Love
I
it.
love when they've thought about it.
If you look at the art commission that I have on my Instagram, I described to the artist that Danielle Rose Russell, who was the star of Legacies and the originals,
Yeah.
she is kind of the vision of Stella. So that's, you can see that in the art. And then Dimitri I described him as like the handsomest man, like just hold back nothing. Like, if you're picturing somebody that you would cast as Taylor Swift's boyfriend in a music video, that's Dimitri. And I think that charisma and beauty, that's Charles Melton.
Oh
Wait,
my
I
God.
know exactly who
Yes.
that
No,
is.
Tiff, we know.
Oh.
Is it the guy from Riverdale?
Oh my gosh.
Totally.
I love him.
Please give him the opportunity.
Netflix, if you're listening, I'm telling you.
I
Sorry,
feel
my
like
cat is knocking this over.
that's okay.
That's okay.
I feel like people don't give him enough credit.
Agreed.
Oh my God. Just looking at him right now
I
on my screen is
know.
just the dopamine.
Dimitri
I know. Well, he's
Okay,
one of
wait,
those
so
people who's so beautiful that every time you look at him, you're like, I can't be right. Nobody looks
I
like
can't.
that.
Yeah, this.
I love him
My
so
eyes are
much.
deceiving me.
So do you have
He's so
one
beautiful.
for Tom and Nina then?
That one is so much harder because I only hear his voice. I don't know what.
Yeah, because that man be wearing his helmet and
But for Nina, I was gonna go with Lindsay Morgan from The 100. She's
I think I know
incredibly
exactly who that
like
is.
smart and strong and beautiful.
I'm gonna look real quick.
Yes. Oh my God. Yeah, I know her.
Oh,
So
yeah,
pretty.
from the 100 and Walker. Yes, I love that. She's like, for Tom, we'll just have to just do anybody who, it doesn't matter, as long as they have the voice.
The voice
like,
is the most important part.
Yes, she's like, that's all that matters.
Oh, my cat.
So what is your current read or your last read?
Right now, I'm reading a book that my best friend recommended, which is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. And that's a really,
Intriguing.
I'm looking
really
it up.
fascinating
I
book.
know. We always ask this question, and I swear my TBR list just gets longer and longer every time because I'm always like, wait, I love this.
I
A
have
horror
heard of this.
novel. I need something like that.
Yeah, the main character is obsessed with horror movies, and so it's just constant like references to horror movies, some of which I've even seen.
Oh my God, I love that.
Wait,
And every chapter ends with like an essay that she wrote for class about horror movies, and I love that.
I'm a fan. I already added it to my list.
no, I added it too because I actually am really excited for that. Hold on. I added
I
to
love
my
that.
TBR.
I didn't add anything faster than I've added that. That was
Okay, so what is your all-time favorite movie and your all-time favorite TV show?
My all-time favorite movie is Magic Mike XXL, and I think that is
love
the most
it.
feminist feel-good movie ever. It's
so
I love
good.
that.
so sex positive, right?
Yes.
So like beautiful. And it makes me so happy. I watch it a couple of times a year, like to keep me from ever like feeling down for too long, basically. Like it picks me back up. And my favorite show is Angel, the spinoff of Buffy. And
Wow, I haven't seen that show in so long.
Forever. Now I'm gonna have to watch. I'm gonna have to watch
super
Buffy.
influential, and I didn't even notice it had influenced me so much until I watched it again last year. I was like, wow, I totally see how much of that show is in my DNA.
That is crazy. Do
I
you
love that.
like apocalypse like zombie shows? That's your cat's like, I want to be in this podcast too, please.
She's like, I want to answer
my
the
God,
question.
look at the face.
I know.
I cannot even. Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is Callisto, and that means
I
most
love
beautiful.
that name.
He's like,
is it a boy?
a girl?
Yes, a boy.
It's a girl. A boy. He is like, he loves cats. So when he sees it, he's just like, oh my God. I was like, I have to show him. Okay, so my question was, do you like zombie shows and movies? Like End of the World, Last of Us, kind of thing?
Currently, I'm on a moratorium. Anytime anybody says, this kind of reminds me of your story, I'm like, nope, I don't want to experience it until I'm done telling my story then. So
right.
Stop.
But historically,
I love that. Yeah, so do I. Okay, so found family or blood family? Found family. I agree.
Okay, this one's be interesting because both your books are very different. Slow burn or bless you.
Sorry.
Slow burn or fast?
Fast. Good God. I mean,
she's like, I can't get it fast enough.
the chapter where Dimitri and Stella finally have sex is called Finally, and that is me talking. That is me going, ugh.
She's like, I am finally here, people. We are here. Thank you for this journey.
Literally.
I could not believe how long it took them.
And you're the author, and it's so funny it's so funny because you're like, this really could have happened earlier, but I couldn't.
She's like, I had to go on the pace of the characters, and they wanted to wait till here. So here we are, finally.
So here we are. Finally, it's happening.
Well, I tried to write it different ways. I tried to like force it and like set up scenarios that would cause it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a choose your own adventure where like turn to page 82 and they get to have sex. No, that ended in a terrible fight for some reason. So rewind to page 56 and Dimitri goes home and masturbates again.
I love that.
Yeah, so do I. Okay, so city settings or small town settings?
City, I just have more experience.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
I
agree.
would love to. I love to read about small towns. I think it's so charming. I wouldn't even know where to start.
Yeah. I'd have to go to a small town and write about I have to be in there when I'm writing it. I can't
She's
I
like,
can't just go there once and then leave because it'll just go away as soon as I leave the property. Like
she's like, I'm going to go away for 1 month at a small town and I'm gonna do some research.
Yeah, literally.
Okay, so enemies to lovers or friends to lovers?
Uh, I think friends to lovers is hard for me to relate to in a way, and enemies to lovers is kind of more fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rivals to lovers is probably my favorite, where they don't, hate each other. They just have a reason to have kind of a sparking relationship between them.
I love
I
that.
love rivals to lovers. That's like
too.
the best. Oh my god. Okay, so do you like a standalone or do you do you like a standalone book or do you like a series?
I love a series. I love to just keep going and getting more and more and more when a series feels like a gift that keeps on giving, like the
Yeah.
Hunger Games.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Oh,
Yes. Literally, yes.
I'm so
The more opportunity I have to stay in a world, I will
yes.
take it.
Give me the before. Give me the stories of before
Yeah.
of these characters that we love. Like, keep it coming. Oh, I love
and
the
introduce
Hunger
new
Games.
characters so you
Yeah.
can write about them too. Like, just keep going.
Yeah, please keep going.
I love it.
Ah, me too.
All right, so that wraps up our episode of Page to Picture. Huge thank you to you, Dana. I had so much fun.
Me
I love talking
too.
about your books. I love learning more about Dimitri. And yes, thank you so much. We had so much fun.
Thank you for having me on. This was wonderful.
I'm so happy. Okay, so Dan, before we go, where can our listeners find you on social media? What is your tag? Where can people go and creep on you and find out all your books? Hey, she's got a creeper in her books. Okay, so you got eavesdroppers and you got creeper.
Eavesdropper, you're so right.
My Instagram and everything is Dana Sweeney author, and I'm always at danasweeney.com. So as the social media comes and goes and new ones get added, I'll keep adding the links on that.
Yay, we love that.
Perfect. So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcast. Also follow us on Instagram and TikTok at official Page to Picture to keep up with everything book related, movie adaptations, and more.
And on our Instagram, you will find our link tree, which includes all our podcasts, guest signups, and our new merch that we just launched.
Yes. So thank you guys so much for joining. Dana, thank you again. I had so much fun.
Me
and
too.
until next time, bye.
Thanks. Bye.